Hello, and thank you for joining us on the first edition of Journalist Hangout this week. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the program, PDP set for intriguing governorship primaries in Bayelsa State. Suspected thief militia invades Taraba State, governor's hometown, Takum, kill 14 residents. Police shut down birthday party of cross-dresser Bobrisky over alleged breach of peace, public peace and decency. And later in the show, Nigeria finishes second at the 12th African Games in Rabat as team arrives Abuja to a rousing welcome. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Wale Adeoye. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us. Political scheming, maneuvering, or stratagem are parts of intrigues that have become second nature to politics, especially in Nigeria. As the November 16 governorship election in Bayelsa State draws near, the race for who succeeds Governor Siriake Dixon also heats up. As an interest-propelled game, a lingering disagreement between the two dominant interest groups in the state makes the build-up hair-raising and nail-biting. Governor Dixon's political family, the restoration team, appears to be in the pole position to produce a successor, but opposing heavyweights outside the team appear set for a showdown in the party primary on Tuesday. Babajide, well, we've been expecting this, and we said it last week that whatever happens within the People's Democratic Party will go a long way to dictate what will happen in November 16. Because since 1999, we've seen the pattern of results churned out from Bayelsa State. It's a very stable state when it comes to, politics. And it's going to be a game between APC and PDP. But ultimately, when you look at the stakes are higher within the People's Democratic Party. Yeah. And from what we've gathered in the last 24 hours, Siriake Dixon took his time before showing his hands. And even as at now, it's not so clear, but from what we've seen, we know that he might be supporting one senator from the Central Senatorial District. But then we also have a very strong man, that's Timi Alebi, former MD of NDDC. So it's going to be a very, very keenly contested primaries tomorrow.
Yes, it certainly will be, because Bayelsa has always been a PDP state. In the last governorship election in Bayelsa State, PDP only lost one local government, and that's Brass local government, the local government of Timipre Silva. So, and the last local government election, they won all the seats at stake. So, definitely, in any state where a party dominates the politics, where a party has overwhelming dominance of the political space, the contest at primary level is usually very, very tough, because you know that once you get past the primary hurdle, you are already
almost there.
Yeah, you are there. You are there. You know, there's usually no room for upset. In Cross River State, for example, people will kill to win PDP. The primary election of the PDP, because they know that once they win the primary election, nothing will stop them. It's been like that since 1999. The same thing in Borno State. Once you win the primaries of the APC, you know that you are already a candidate. You know, sometimes your opponents will even come and tell you that, look, we are not contesting. It happened to the Speaker of the Borno State House of Assembly. Those who were supposed to contest against him stepped forward and said, no, we are not interested. They just left him alone.
It was the consensus.
Just go and do your thing, because if you contest against him, you'll waste your money. You know, so that's the thing. So the way it is, the way the thing is shaping up, yes, Alaibe is popular, but it's not going to win these primaries. It's not going to win because...
You're saying it with a note of finality, Jide?
Yes, Alaibe cannot win the primaries. I'm saying it because I'm sure. He can't win the primaries. He has money, but he doesn't have delegates. It's one thing to have the money, but if you don't have the delegates, how do you then win? You see, the problem with Alaibe is his refusal to stay in one party. You leave the PDP today, go and join the APC, come back to PDP. It doesn't help.
And Dixon is saying if you want to be a member of his restoration group, you have to have stayed with them all through and through.
Yeah, so
cannot support you.
the people who have stayed with them from the beginning, they are the people who benefit. The way it is, the politics of Bayelsa at PDP level is firmly in the hands of the restoration group. The governor has control of the party structures at every level. They organized a local government election the other day. There are 105 delegates that emerged out of the local government election alone. Because these are statutory delegates. Councillors, the deputy chairman, 105 delegates. And these are people from the side of the governor. I can tell you that these Bayelsa people, they've already camped their delegates for almost 1 week now.
Are you kidding me?
I'm telling you what I know. They can't deny. Because I know that this is the truth. They've camped delegates for almost 1 week.
So they know where they are going now.
They know where, just stay there. We've done it with camp delegates in Lagos here too now, you know that. And once we do it, we shut out the rest of the people. You can have that money, but how do you deliver it? You have no access to them.
Sometimes they will even collect your phone.
Yes, they do it. Those governors, now when they were doing the presidential primaries here in Lagos, they took away people's phones. And the former governor of Kano State was screaming that, what is this? This is not democracy. Where are the delegates? We need to be able to talk to delegates. He had no way to reach them. The delegates. So this is the thing. It's an intriguing, what I see a current senator. A current senator. I see Doye Diri winning the governorship.
Okay, I wanted to mention his name. Central.
From Central, because the way it is, they've zoned the 10 to Central. So the deputy governor is from East also. He's a nice man, but the zoning formula does not favor him.
Wale?
Well, I think like Gideon said, the current governor has a lot of things on his side. He has been in power for 8 years.
Yes. Was a member of the House of Representatives before now.
And it appears as if he has unchallenged control over the structures of the PDP in the state. Now, the PDP is not controlling the central, whereby we will have expected the president to intervene and decide for him. So even the primary election in Bayelsa State, the former president has no say.
As a good Lord Jonathan?
Yes. The ball begins and stops on the table of Sereke Diskin. Now, I think one other thing that is also in his favor is the fact that if you look at the past years, he has been able to stand out as the force, the only major force in that area, in terms of, even opposition, promoting the ideas of the PDP, and even within the national structure of the PDP, he's a force to be reckoned with. So I think he stands a better chance. Now, there are 3 candidates, major candidates, Deoye, Kamara, Okara, and then Ayawe. But 3 of them belong to the same restoration caucus. I'm beginning to think that one is going to win the election. It's already known to them. Maybe the other 2 are just control experiment, deliberately put forward to give a semblance of a democratic contest.
Or a last minute.
Yes, to give the impression that, look, it's open, it's a democratic election. But I think decision has been taken on who wins, the primary tomorrow. I think it was a bit tactical in not declaring his preference early enough. So I think that appears to me to be an advantage. He didn't make an open declaration of his favorite candidate. So he just allowed them to go to the field. But I think deep down within him, it's clear that he has one candidate in mind.
So that's like an advantage.
Yes. I also think Doyediri is most likely to win, though there are speculations, because if you look at the DG of campaign of Okara, you know, he was also, I mean, he's also a very close aide of Diskin. But being a current senator, I suspect that, you know, the contest is going to be between Doye and Okara. But most likely, Doye is going to have an upper hand. But we should also realize that this contest is different in a way from other contests. You know, in the past, if you lose the primary, there will be a position for you at the national level. But in this case, that's why people are more desperate. There is no guarantee that when you lose this primary, the federal government will offer you compensation because they are not in control of federal power. So it's going to be more vicious. But I think at the end of the day, this thing is almost next to the alpha and omega of Bayelsa politics as we speak today.
Jide, now talking about opposition now, looking at the All Progressive Congress, when you want to look at them, the party leader, one of the party leaders spoke recently and said it doesn't expect anything more than victory in Kogi and Bayelsa states. And you now discover that the mindset of APC is that, look, they have, if given the level playing field, that they have a big chance in Bayelsa state. And when you have people like Timipri Silva, now Minister of State for Petroleum, so they will fancy their chances more.
They've never been denied a level playing field in Bayelsa. It's difficult for a party that is not at the center to deny a ruling party a level playing ground. So nobody has ever denied them. But the truth is, Bayelsa is a PDP state. The current senator, current minister of state for petroleum, Timipri Silva, is the power broker in the APC in the state. He is not backing Henneken Lokobiri because Henneken Lokobiri is from the same senatorial zone as the outgoing governor. Because Dixon will leave office on February 14, 2020. It is difficult for you to succeed, for you from the same senatorial zone to succeed an outgoing governor. We saw it in Ondo, it failed. The Ondo man, the governor, former governor from Ondo town, Mimiko, couldn't install Itayo Jegede, who is from Akure.
Central.
Yes. The grand patron of Iberiberism, Richard Sokorocha, could not get his son-in-law, who is from the same senatorial zone, Olu zone, to succeed him. So Silva has tactically, sensing that sentiment always plays a big part in the election, has tactically moved to someone else. So he's supporting a money-back politician, David Leon. David Leon has all the money to give the PDP a big fight. But whether they can muster so much support, because in politics, money alone does not, you must have people,
structure.
You have more structures at every level. Even that's how that money that you are sharing can percolate. If it's simply to share money, they will really outrun the PDP, because Dixon does not believe in simply sharing money all over the place. You know, and that's why he has done so much work in that state. Dixon is clearly one of the best governors in Nigeria in terms of achievement. You know, built 2 state universities in that state. And he's done roads to places where they had never seen roads in their lives. You know, so, but he doesn't like sharing money. But in this election, what the people will say, yes, you've done roads for us. You build schools for our children. You try, infrastructure, you've done very well, but you must give us money. So this is the reality. If it doesn't spend, if they don't spend money, APC will defeat them. I'm sure they know that already. So it's going to be tough with David Leon likely to win the primaries of the APC in Bayelsa State. But of course, we have all kinds of crises. We'll see how that is resolved.
From Ibi, let's go to Takum. That's Taraba State. Is in the news again for the wrong and sad reasons. Suspected militiamen have attacked Takum, the hometown of the state governor, Darius Ishaku. The attack has invaded the community on Sunday morning and opened fire on residents, leaving many dead. Residents who put the casualty figure at 14 said the attackers were from Benue State, suggesting that it was part of the raging Tiv-Jokun crisis in the region. Wale, what do we make of this, that we still have this free for all?
This is a very unfortunate development, but not surprising, because we have seen a consistent pattern that whenever the TVs attack Jukun, then the next few days, there will be reprisal attack. This current attack...
Apart from Boko Haram, apart from bandits, apart from herdsmen, farmer clashes, this one
is one of the oldest clashes in the history of Nigeria. It has started since the 1950s, and there has not been an end to it. You know, some few days ago, Father David Tanko was killed, a TV man who was on, he was killed in his car, gruesomely murdered. So it is widely believed that this attack is a kind of reprisal attack, to a kind of revenge killing for the... And we can reasonably suspect that there's going to be another reprisal attack, to revenge for these 40 people that have been killed. And it's quite unfortunate that for several decades, we've not been able to find a solution, to these consistent problems. We have had similar instances, between Ijo, Ishekiri, but at the end of the day, there was a solution, Modakeke Ife, But this thing has been going on since the 1950s. In fact, from the colonial days, and nothing has been done to resolve this problem. So I think we should not be hopeless. We hope the two governors, the Benue governor and the Taraba State governor, will rise up to this occasion and take certain practical steps, at least to put a stop to this bloodletting, because it's as if it has assumed a life of its own. It has led to arms raids. People are buying arms just because they want to kill each other. It has led to displacement of several communities, So, and I believe we just need to do something to put an end to it. It's a different pattern of killing on its own. Both are largely Christian communities, and even share common history. And they have lived together for several years. So, and it's been going on all and on and on without an end. So I think we really need to find a solution to this before, the Joko people come back again to revenge for the killing of these 14 people.
This is 2019. I don't expect this kind of primitive way of thinking and for there to be reprisal attack after a particular, and we should go back and forth. And I expect that leaders of those communities would have come together and look for amicable resolution to this thing. You can't be having crisis since 1950-something. What's there?
It is one of the symptoms of the black man's underdevelopment that we continue to kill ourselves like this. Remember, there was this time when we had the ANC and Nkata were slaughtering themselves in broad daylight. Butelezi's group and the ANC leaders, and the ANC group were slaughtering themselves. And you ask, what is the meaning of this black on black violence? But within our country, we are one people. We should see ourselves as one people, yet we are killing ourselves. You see the thieves and the Jukun. Just as Wale said earlier, these are people who share even a common heritage in the real sense of the word. Why are they doing this to one another? The governor of Taraba State is a Jukun. His wife is thief. So you can imagine how husband and wife, how do they feel when they go into their bedroom at night? I'm a thief, I'm your wife, I'm thief, you are Jukun. our people are killing one another. Government must just find a way to stop these killings. The president needs to call the governors of the 2 states because it appears they are powerless. There is no matter how influential you are as a governor, when you talk to your people, stop these killings. Don't retaliate any form of killing. And people go to the extent of slaughtering a man of God who was going on a peace mission and set his body ablaze in the manner, the most degrading kind of death. There's no way that it won't lead to further, bad blood. There's no way. When his own people see the picture, their blood will boil. And this is how things degenerate. Before then, there was an attack. Before the killing of Father Tanko, 2 days earlier, there was an attack. These attacks go on almost every day. A lot of them are reported in the media because that area is not so accessible. But these guys came down from the mountains of Wukari and just descended on people on Sunday. Some of them were in church worshiping. And then you began to slaughter people. The unfortunate thing is that these people fighting themselves, the thief will be behaving like they are the victims. Whereas they too show no remorse in killing people. At other times too, the Jukun too will say, see what they are doing to us. So there is a lack of decency, lack of humanity across both divides. And there's a need for them to sit together and say, look, let's stop this nonsense. Let this killing stop. That's why I'm saying that the president has to call, at least the president must have been hearing about these killings for some time. He has to intervene. He's the leader of the country, he's the father of all. He cannot control to watch the governors. If they are powerless to stop the killings, he has to step in because at the end of the day, the president will still be blamed. So the president has to intervene now. They've had meetings among themselves. I saw a meeting of the deputy governors of both states. But the meeting amounted to nothing because shortly after that, they continue killing one another. Those militia groups that exist on both sides must be disbanded. If you don't disband the militia groups, you are wasting your time. Because at every opportunity, they'll go and kill. So you must secure the flashpoints, disband the militia, and come to a round table and ensure that lasting peace is achieved. All such killings often stop when there is a peace meeting. Obasanjo brokered that with Ife Modakeke. The killings that they are talking about was worse in Ife Modakeke now. With Juju and all that, they were killing themselves. But at the end of the day, it became a thing of the past. It became a thing of the past. The people, the thieves and Jukun, should be ashamed of themselves that they are subjecting their people to ridicule in this manner. This modern age, you are slaughtering people. It has to stop. Every day, thief Jukun, thief Jukun, thief Jukun. Are they the only people in Nigeria? The killings have to stop. Let the president summon a stakeholders meeting and read the Riot Act and send troops, sufficient troops, to the area to stop the killings.
Because, Wale, I was saying that it's like, of all the problems, let's say you are the chief of army staff now, of all the problems, or commander-in-chief on the table, this is so ridiculous. What Nigeria is facing right now is far, outweigh this.
It's an unnecessary diversion. And I think the traditional rulers, the Tortivi and the Akuka of Wukari, they also need to rise up to that occasion because in those areas, traditional rulers still have a lot of role to play. And I would like to see a situation where the two governors will tour both states together in the same vehicle, come down, talk to their people, and say, look, it is enough, these killings. We have to put a stop to it. Well, the two deputy governors met, but
part of it, even from the same party.
Yes.
Darius and
yes. So I think then the issue of law and order. When someone is killed, it's always very important for us to find out those that are responsible. Once there is justice, it's also going to serve as a deterrent, and people will be less tempted to go and seek revenge, using their own, in their own way. If people that are even the people that are killing others are arrested and prosecuted. But once there's no law and order, people want to fight for themselves because they believe there's no justice for them.
All right, still to come. Police shut down birthday party of cross-dresser Bobrisky over alleged breach of public peace and decency. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout. It is baffling and saddening to see morally bankrupt and societal renegades assault our psyche with impunity. It took the FBI to cause some halt to the Yahoo Yahoo menace that has stolen the hearts of Nigerian youths. Back home, the Nigerian police is wielding the big stick against another rising degeneration in our society, cross-dressing among men. On Saturday, about 50 policemen invaded and sealed off the venue of a birthday party of popular cross-dresser Bobrisky, whose real name is Idris Okuneye. Bobrisky fled the scene, but 5 alleged members of his club were arrested for breach of public peace and decency. A miffed Director General of the National Council of Arts and Culture, that's Olusegun Rushewe, had threatened to go after Bobrisky and his likes, describing cross-dressers as disgrace to the country. Babajide, this is not the first time I'm going to be hearing about Bobrisky. He has been with us for some time, but coming from our stand against cross-dresser, or I don't know if there's any law against them right now. But I think morally, or our culture might not permit that for now.
No, our law is silent on transgenders, cross-dressing, and even transvestites. But cross-dressing in itself is not the problem. Dan Relay is a cross-dresser, but he never parades himself like gay. He leaves his beard. He never tries to be what he's not. Our grand old musical artist, Charlie Boy, is a cross-dresser. He never pretends to be a woman. The problem...
He's married.
Yeah, he's married, and he has kids.
He's a grandfather.
Yes, he has kids. I've met some of his kids in the course of reporting. The problem with Idris Okuneye is that he's like the modern day, what the Yorubas will call Fawaraja. He just parading himself as what he's not. He wants people to see him as a woman, whereas he's not a woman. Well, unfortunately for him, when you parade yourself as a woman, whereas you are not a woman, you are tilting inexorably towards some sections of the law against same-sex, because it says that public show of same-sex amorous relationship directly or indirectly is prohibited. Some of his actions will show that he actually is gay. Our law frowns at being gay thoroughly. No doubt about it. Even when our president went abroad, he made it clear to them that, no, this is Nigeria. David Mark too said that, no, this is our culture, this will not be tolerated. Idris Okuneye, alias Bobrisky, can go to the U.S.
Where asylum there.
Where the other day, people were permitted to sleep with their horses, with their animals. He can go to the U.S. It's a permissive society. But to come to our country and be behaving in the manner that is behaving, it's not, it should expect that it will be resisted. Because there are, in the penal code, there are actions that are deemed immoral. And punishment as high as 14 years in jail are stipulated under the penal code for actions deemed immoral and capable of negatively influencing people. So you can imagine young people, when they see Bobrisky, some of them will think what he's doing is right. So, and I think that he had been tolerated for too long. This
has become a role model to some misguided youths.
Yes, whereas he's fake. The other day he was deported from the US. Straight from the airport, they put him in a plane back to Nigeria because he had a visa that did not permit him to work. And he wanted to go there to be making guest appearances and making money. And they said, no, you can't do that here. Go back to your country. He was sent back. The other day, Liz Anjorin was given the title of Borokini by some Muslim clerics. And here was Idris Okuneye, because I don't want to call him Bobrisky, I want to call him his real name. He was with Liz Anjorin. And Alfaz asked for money. And your brother wrote a check that eventually bounced. Even that check, the fact of that check bouncing is something for which he can go to jail if he knows the laws of our country. You cannot present a check that you knew there was no money in the account. You can go to jail. It's clear. So this is it. He's parading himself as someone who he is not. So the question to ask is, who are you? What are you? Are you a man or a woman? If you are pretending to be a woman, when you are a man, then wait until they catch you. You'll see yourself before a court of law.
Wale, what do you make of this? This is not who we are.
Well, I think, for me, he may appear to have a false sense of his public image. If you do a kind of referendum in Nigeria, I can assure you that 99% of Nigerians, irrespective of the moral degeneration, we defined our values, our age-long heritage that we have held for centuries because we are Africans. And we want people who inspire our youths in the field of arts.
So this is the same Idris Okuneye?
Yes.
It's an old picture.
Yeah. People who inspire our youths in the area of arts, in the area of science, in the area of job creation, in the area of wealth creation. But what he is doing, I think, devalues our society. It's an assault on our heritage. And actually, if I happen to be his relation, I will feel ashamed walking on the street. Because all these traits, apart from the fact that they are illegal, they don't in any way develop our society in whatever form. And we have reason to suspect, if you look at his community, there are basically the comments on social media, there are people who are pro-gay, pro-homosexualism and all that. And I wonder how they think we can cope with this situation when we are still battling with drug abuse among our young people. We are battling, against rape of minors. If you now compound this with giving a free license to gay and lesbianism, I think it's going to be, a big assault on the future of our country. You can imagine what this country will look like in the next 30, 40, 50 years if we allow this kind of thing to be the moral standard, for our younger generation. I think it's a complete disgrace. And if I happen to be his father, I'm sorry to say, I will feel really, really bad that, this person is my son or my brother. Somebody needs to tell him the hard truth that Nigerians are appalled, by what he does. And apart from the fact that it violates our constitution, it violates our sacred values as Africans.
He seems to have made money and fame from this. He's enjoying himself. He has followers.
I'm not so sure he has made money. Because if he has made money, he won't buy a car that the dealer will come and yank off his buttocks. I don't think he has. You see, that's why I said he's a modern-day Fawaraja. The Fawaraja tries to portray himself to people in a manner that is completely antithetical to who he really is. That is how the Fawaraja is. And before you know it, you start spending money on them. The Fawaraja is a modern-day scammer. He will just fool you. So I don't think if he was comfortable, he was talking about spending 19 million on a party. Of course, it's a lie. What is the value of the cake? Yes, I saw that cake, tall cake, but what is the value of the cake? How did it get to 19 million? How much did you spend to hire the venue? It's a lie. Because you know, our society thrives on falsehood. People, you just lie to people, and they will believe it. They don't ask questions. People don't ask questions. So this is the thing. I don't think this boy is rich. No, far from it. If he was rich, he would have given those Afar even the money straight from the trunk of his car. But he decided to deceive them by giving them a dot check. No rich man will Dangote give a dot check, for example. If he doesn't want to give you, he will say, no, I won't give you this money until you show to me why you think you should get it. So Bobrisky is not rich. He's not rich at all. He's trying to be rich, you know, by conning as many people as possible, but he's not rich yet. And I'm saying that.
Fashiolu is calling us from Lagos.
Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Yeah, see, this Buhari's government, please, I can say I'm satisfied. I love this government for this. If only this issue, this Bobrisky matter, I can see that this government achieved this thing to get this guy arrested.
Yes.
I can say I changed my mind about Buhari now.
Thank you.
Honestly, because this guy has been all this while.
Just like that. But some people,
I like this man now.
Okay.
I can say I like Buhari now.
He irritates people.
I like this government before, but this one alone makes me happy.
Okay.
And I like the action.
Okay, thank you, Fashiolu from Lagos.
So
some Nigerians will tell you that, look, upon all the security problems we have, upon all the challenges we have all around, how can we afford to deploy 50 policemen to run after somebody that is harmless? That will displace our priority. Our youth have been arguing
this morning. It's not anybody deliberately trampling on our laws. It's not harmless. Do you know how many youths is capable of destroying? That's not how you judge being harmless or not being harmless. Those saying that, I've heard some idiots say that, Sango too was a cross-dresser. The masculinity of Sango had never or was never in doubt.
Yeah.
So you cannot compare Sango to this person because he was wearing, used to wear something like a kilt that these Scotsmen wear. And history says he wanted to just kind of support his wife, Oya, by dressing in that manner. But the masculinity of Sango was never in doubt, and he married a woman. So don't say, cross-dressing is not really the issue. But the way you go, you need to read some of his tweets, some of what he says, that look, that he has decided to cut his genitals. You say all those things, that means you prefer to be a woman. That's not how God created you. So you have to live with our laws. The Nigerian Criminal Code Act of 1990, section 214, 216, 217, the provisions are clear on behaviors that infringe on morality. And you should know that this is just the first stage. I commend the IG for sending people. People can say what they like, that, they have no, this government, they have no time, they have nothing to do, this and that. No. As seemingly insignificant and derelict-like that he is, it is still good enough to go after such people. What he has done, nobody dares do it in Egypt. You can't. You can't.
Okay.
Even if you try to do something suggestive of something like this in Egypt, they will arrest you. Yeah. Our country must get to that level too.
I have Oye calling us from California.
Yeah, hello gentlemen, good morning.
Thank you, Oye. Good morning to you in California, LA.
Yeah, how are you guys doing? You're doing a fantastic job. Well, I want to give a quick contribution again.
All right, go ahead.
Bobrisky issue. Yes, this Bobrisky issue is more like a warning for the future. Because I don't understand how some people realize we are a nation of laws. Without laws, we are barbarians.
Yeah.
But yet you're standing to defend someone who's clearly violating the laws of the nation. It shows that we really need to pay attention on the future and moral values of our nation. Because Nigeria said this is not allowed in some certain countries, all because of social media and relevance that people are seeking. They are jumping on this bandwagon.
Yeah.
True. Cross-dressing is totally different from being gay.
Yes.
And people keep getting that wrong entirely. This guy is purely gay, but hiding behind being a cross-dresser. Yes, the police can be crazy, but they did a good job on that issue. But as my main concern is the future. We really need to nip this in the bud because it becomes something that is acceptable.
Yeah.
Yahoo started this way, and people looked at it and just said, But now, this whole cross-dressing and gay thing, if it's not lit now, it's going to be a huge problem in the future.
Thank you, Ye. Thank you for your contribution. I thought Oye is going to be liberal. I thought he was going to be supporting what people do.
People know what they are saying now.
Even in the US, there's a big movement against gay, big, huge movement in Europe and everywhere. So we are Africans, we are Nigerians. We can't compound our social problems with giving a free license to people to just do whatever they like.
No. And especially when we have laws that show clearly that we don't tolerate this kind of
heritage.
thing.
I mean, you can't destroy our youth and then we all would just do
marriage is by nature for man and woman. The people who are gay, who now go to the extent of adopting kids, they must be very stupid people. So if kids are of value to you, why don't you get married to someone who will give you kids? You now go and adopt kids. They shouldn't be allowing them to adopt kids because children raised in that home will start thinking too that gay is such a good thing. No, God designed man for a woman, and He did it on purpose. You cannot dismantle God's plans and expect that you get away with it. No.
But in
you are gay, you are marrying a man like you. You are now going to the extent of adopting kids. So kids are they are so valuable to you. And what will give you kids, you refuse to do it. Then you got something is wrong with your head.
But it's
nobody should be allowing them to adopt kids.
This trend you are talking about is growing in Nigeria silently.
And if they are caught, that's why our laws, we must encourage the government to implement our laws. I like what I like what even David Mark did at that time. They came up with this law January 2014, January 7, 2014, and they were quite clear. The National Assembly rose in a wave that would not allow Nigeria to be destroyed. We are not America. We are not America. Our values are different. The things that we hold dear are different. So they came together. They said, "This is the law." And the law was passed by good Lord Jonathan.
14 years.
Yes. So those ones, let the movement continue to grow. When we catch them, we put them in the slammer. It's as simple as that.
Can't do it publicly.
Don't come and do it here. Look, even as ISIS, you know how wicked ISIS is. You know what they were doing? They would take them to the top of a skyscraper and push them down. They arrest gay men, take them to the top of high-rise buildings and just simply push them down. They didn't want to waste their bullets on them.
All right. We'll take this time out. When we come back, we'll talk sports. Please don't go away. Promise Efoge will be joining us. Welcome back. Our sport editor is joining us. Promise Efoge. It is applause all the way for Team Nigeria to the just concluded 12th African Games in Rabat, Morocco. Just like in 2015, Nigeria ended its campaign at the Games in second position after 15 days of action, in which it paraded 308 athletes in 21 sports. Nigeria won 127 medals in total, made up of 46 gold, 33 silver, and 48 bronze, to finish behind eventual winner Egypt. Weightlifting delivered the highest number of medals for the country, with 16 gold, 13 silver, and 18 bronze medals. The country also recorded some eye-catching performances in sports like short distance races, basketball, and canoeing. Time to consolidate, or what do you think, gentlemen? Promise, what do you make of our outing at this African Games?
Well, I wish this was wine. I would have taken a sip of it to celebrate the team. It's a two-way thing, you know. You look at the performance of the contingent. They started quite slowly. At some point, I was worried if they would ever get on the medal table, but they finally did, and usurped countries like Tunisia, Algeria, South Africa, who were there already, and pushed up to the second position. But my worry is the fact that 2015, 4 years ago, we won 144 medals in total, but here we won 127. That's almost 20 medals short. For me, that's retrogressive. But then you want to give kudos to the team, you know, going by the build-up to the African Games. It wasn't too good in terms of preparations. I recall a couple of athletes complained. Blessing Okagbari complained. Divine Oduduru complained about training grants. Federation president complained that the timing for camping was unusual. A month to the commencement of the games, some athletes were not even in camp yet. But what we saw in Rabat was just a show of resilience from the athletes, a show of determination, a show of will to succeed, not necessarily because the Nigerian government or the sport ministry did exceptionally well to get them to where they got to. So in all, when you put that into consideration, you want to give kudos to the contingent.
Babajide, we are not doing bad coming to sports. I think it's something, apart from football, we must, if in canoeing and this short distance races, and we are making our mark here, I think it's something that we can consolidate on.
Yes, it's a thing of joy to me that we are back to doing well in the short sprints, because that really is the athletics heritage of Nigeria. The short sprints and the quarter miles, we've always dominated those ones. Suddenly, the some African, yes, and the 400 meters, and the 4x400 meters or 400 meters relay, you know, suddenly some African countries began to encroach on what used to be our birthright.
I like that word, encroach.
Yes, because the East Africans would not allow you to encroach in the long distance races. Yes, it used to be Kenya. But today, the Ethiopians have shown that you
Ugandans as well.
You Kenyans, yes, it will be Kenya, Uganda, you know. But today, the Ethiopians have shown that they are the masters of long-distance running in terms of the quantum of medals that they get from that area, you know, and they do well in the Olympics as well. So if you are not going to allow us to encroach into the long-distance races, why should you come to the short sprints? No. So I'm happy, because our performance showed that, yes, we are not dead in that area. There are some sports where we are beginning to return to reckoning, like badminton.
Sure.
It shows that they are doing well. The association is doing well in badminton. We used to be the best in Africa and one of the best in the world in badminton. And then we lost that dominance. But suddenly, we are beginning to come back. Wrestling, too, thanks to Igali. You know? Yes, one of the greatest wrestlers the world has seen. He's come back home and is helping to build a crop of wrestlers that can do the country proud. What we need to do now, I saw weightlifting. What I want to see is for us to expand our frontiers and begin to do well in others. But weightlifting, especially powerlifting, has always done well for us. You know, what if a time comes that an African country breaks our dominance of powerlifting? What are we going to do? Yes, because in the real weightlifting, Egypt is there.
That's
for powerlifting, we are the best.
That's true.
So what if a country comes and stops that dominance? So we need to begin to focus on school sports. The new sports minister, I'm sure, is watching us. They have to focus on school sports, because that's where talents are made.
Absolutely.
There are other things that...
And credit should go to the table tennis team as well. Yeah. I mean, the table tennis singles final, we had two Nigerians competing, Olajide against Haruna Quadri.
You made mention of administration, you know, those federations talking about logistics and everything. So if we are talking to the sport minister now, what agenda should we be setting?
Well, sports is a sector that is more or less a sector that can generate funding, you know, for itself. But a structure has to be put in place, you know, to ensure that monies that come from government were utilized by these federations.
Yeah.
And these federations can also sort private partnership as well. You know, because sports is so big. It's business now in the US, for instance. You know, it's money driven. You know, a lot of people earn a living from sports as it is. What it is right now in Nigeria is more like recreation, where government have to do all the funding and all that. So a lot has to be done administratively from the ministry down to the federation. And a lot also has to be done to ensure that the private sector comes into sports. Yes. But that will only happen when the sports sector itself can clean its own house and ensure that there's trust between the private sector and the sports fraternity.
They will run away if you give you money and you mismanage what's been given to you. So we have to find a way to bring these companies to help us develop our sports. That's the way it's done. Fund the sports. That's the way it's done everywhere. Government cannot do it alone. If a company can just take on boxing, for example, the way we used to have the national oil.
We should give kudos to the young man Uche Eke from the. He was born in the U.S., competed for Nigeria in gymnastics, won a gold and a silver. I spoke to him on Sports Desk a couple of minutes ago, and he was really, happy to compete for Nigeria.
We have to go. Thank you, our sports editor. Promise Afoge, thank you.
Thank you for
having me. And the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade Stoju. And that's our offering today. Yeah. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. And we're also on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Zubakun. See you tomorrow. God bless Nigeria.